No singing this show. I think we need to go right into this topic. It's a great one. I got this from a bunch of different conversations that I had and heard about, and I felt like this was a topic that we needed to bring to the show. So let's get right into it. This is the Mr. Walker's podcast with your host, Mr. Walker, my co-host, Juice, and our guest of the night, Chris. So, tonight we are going to discuss, can a woman raise a boy to be a man? And now that we have a female guest that I feel like can talk about this topic, let's ask her some questions. Let's start off with, the first question. Just get right into it. I'm not wasting any time with this one. First off, Chris, how many kids do you have?
Two.
Two
boys.
Their ages?
The oldest is 18 and the youngest will be 11.
18-year-old. He just graduated high school.
Yes.
So how has his attitude changed? How is it raising a high school graduate versus prior to? Has anything changed? Have you seen any changes in his behavior since?
Absolutely. He decided once he turned 18 and graduated high school, and because he's working, that equals he's grown.
Now that he's grown, what behavior have you seen from this grown young man?
Nothing disrespectful per se, just you feel you can come home whenever you want to, staying out really late, not doing anything bad, but just it's like, okay, how do you put this? He just felt like he came of age, and that since he was of age, he was 18 and he was working and he graduated school, that equaled he can do whatever he wanted to, whenever he wanted to.
He think he can do whatever he wanted to? You mean like in the house or outside the street?
Not necessarily in the house, but for instance, there were times when I would wake up maybe 4 o'clock in the morning and he wasn't home yet, because he felt like he didn't need to come home at a certain hour because he was 18. So that rule didn't apply to him anymore.
And did you or him talk about that prior?
Yeah, no, we talked about it. I told him, listen, I understand you graduated high school now. At least come in by 1 o'clock in the morning. 1 o'clock, I thought that was fair. But he felt that, listen, I'm 18. I shouldn't have a curfew.
Does he drive?
No, he does not drive. But his friends drove. And his friends all had cars.
So, okay. No, I kind of get it. It just kind of reminds me of me. But the one thing I used to have to do was check in. So I didn't care where I was at. My peoples knew the peoples where I was at. Oh, can I use your phone? 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh yeah, we are blah 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 blah. We're doing this. We playing spades. We drinking a little bit. All right, don't act crazy. All right, we gonna get something to eat and then come home.
That usually wasn't the issue because I had his location, so I can always look at my phone and check to see where he was.
Oh, okay.
And if I text him, he would respond. But my whole thing was, you need to come in. Like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. There's no reason why you need to be out.
Oh, no. There is a reason to be out. And you might not want to hear this. At that time, what else is there to do but fuck and get White Castles? At 4 o'clock in the morning, on some real serious shit.
That's all he did.
Yo, at 4 o'clock in the morning, if you didn't fuck already, you trying to find something or you got something to fuck. The only problem was you didn't know what the fucking White Castles was gonna do to your stomach before you fucked.
Yeah.
So that's just like, what the fuck? No, I'm telling. That's what was going on. Like
You saying that, it's almost like I'm reliving that in my mind. Like,
yeah.
wow. And I was driving since I was 16. Had access to a car. But once I got 18, it was a little different. But I always, like I said, I always had to check in. They never knew, but this is pre-technology. Like you said, you know where he's at because all you got to do is look at your phone. But I always had to check in.
So you say you have 2 kids, 2 boys. One as a young adult. The other one is still damn.
Pre-adolescent.
Yeah. Baby daddies. How many baby daddies? Same father? What? Different daddies?
2 baby daddies.
2 baby daddies. Okay. Did you meet them and they were like upstanding citizens? Like, were they street dudes? Were they 9-to-5ers? Were they?
So both were 9-to-5ers. Both were absolutely 9-to-5ers. One had extracurricular activities.
Oh, okay. And the other one was a 9-to-5er.
Just a straight 9-to-5er.
Okay. So one was a square and one wasn't.
Basically, yes.
Okay. And let me know about the split. How did you guys break up? And start with the. So the 9-to-5er, is he the baby daddy to the younger one or the older one?
The 9-to-5er is the baby daddy to the younger one.
And the street dude, the not so square dude, is the baby daddy to the older one.
Yes.
The 18-year-old. So you were with the 18-year-old baby daddy first.
Yes.
What was the reason for the split?
Numerous things. Let me see. Basically, we wanted different things at different times, or we wanted the same thing at different times. And
what was that?
at one point in time, it was just like, okay, when I wanted marriage, he didn't. And then when he finally wanted marriage, I was like, oh, well, now I'm chilling. I didn't. Or
How long were you guys together?
before we split? Let me see. A couple years.
And that's just straight or on and off?
No, a couple years straight.
Okay.
But then after the split, it was a couple years on and off.
Okay. So in total, what, like 5, 6, 7?
In total? How old is our son?
You said 18?
18. So in total, back and forth, all together, maybe about 17 years.
Let me ask this. Going to the other kid's father, the young kid, the square.
No such thing as a square.
All right, the L7. So the L7, right? What was the reason for the split?
So he was going through things at that time, and we were together. We were in a relationship, and I was trying to help him through those things, but he wasn't listening to me. And at the end of the day, I decided that, listen, I already have one kid and one baby daddy. For me to do it again, it was easier. I was like, I don't have to be in a relationship to have another kid. I already had one and I wasn't in a relationship anymore. So it was just like, to be honest with you, even with the situation that he was going through and I was helping him through that situation, for me, because of what I was used to, he didn't have enough hustle in him.
Okay.
To get through what needed to be gotten through. So I couldn't deal with that anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
So you mean like you had to kind of like motivate him to do certain things, or he wasn't motivated to do certain things? That's what you mean?
It was a matter of you just weren't doing certain things. There are things that need to be done, and it was just like the way you went about it was like not the right way.
On his own time, not your time.
Not even on time. Okay, I'll give an example. For instance, let's say you have a car with a car note, right? By the time your car gets repossessed, you got 3 months. Now you know you're not paying that car note. So what are you doing with that money? Are you saving it?
And they're gonna add on once it's repossessed. They're gonna add on to.
So my thing is, all right, listen, if I know I can't afford this car, the money that I have for that car note, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stack it. I'm gonna put it to the side. So by the time they come take my car, at least I have maybe about $4,000. I can go buy something outright.
How old was this man when he was doing that type of shit?
In his 30s.
Let me ask this. So, starting with the older kid's father, when you guys split, what did you go through during the split, like mentally? Were you devastated, heartache and pain, or any type of mental whatever? Did you go through anything after the split?
Absolutely.
Were you two living together with the kid and y'all split, or y'all were never living together while you were pregnant and y'all split?
We lived together.
While with the kid?
With the kid.
So after you guys split, you two broke up, somebody moved out or somebody whatever, and you said you were mentally fucked up?
More emotionally than mentally.
And how long would you say you were fucked up mentally, emotionally, whatever?
The heartache and pain, it came and went. It fluctuated. It depended on the day. Especially when there was a lot of back and forth.
It was a lot of back and forth with you and him while you were with your kid. While the kid was born, newborn, whatever.
Yes.
So the kid witnessed or heard these back and forths?
No.
Never?
When he was young. So
It wasn't crazy back and forth?
No. When I say back and forth, meaning like not as far as like we're arguing and stuff like that in front of the child back and forth. I'm just saying like the relationship was going back and forth. Like 1 minute together, we're together, the next minute we're not.
And he's out there,
If the kid could understand at that point, do you think that would be confusing to the child?
So when he moved out, finally during this split, and he moved out, our son was 4. He was in preschool. And he was used to seeing his father every day. And I remember for the first week that his father was gone, every morning my son would wake up and say, "Where's Daddy?" Because he knew he wasn't there. And
because he was so used to him.
He lived with us. We all lived together. We were a family. But for at least a good week, it was, "Where's Daddy?" Every morning when he woke up, and I would have to say, "Remember, Daddy doesn't live here anymore. Daddy has his own place. Like you'll see Daddy this weekend."
Was Daddy around?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The heartache and pain that you went through. Have you ever, and be completely honest, do you ever think that, or did you ever think that your kid heard you say things about his father that wasn't so polite, or things that could be, detrimental to his character, so to speak, as a man? Or do you even feel like your kid ever felt the heartache and pain that you was going through during the split?
While he was younger or older?
Young.
When he was younger, no. There were times where I might have been upset, or I might have been on the phone, and if we had a argument on the phone, he didn't hear the argument, but he might see that I was crying. He'd be like, "Mommy, are you okay?"
Do you think that he knew it was a result of his father?
When he was younger, no.
Younger, what age younger?
I would say under 7 and under.
I asked that because at 7, I can remember what was happening to me at 7. Things that were happening around me at 7, I can remember.
But at that point in time, he wouldn't necessarily know who I was like on the phone with or what was going on, and we always tried to keep that away from the kids.
But I think, okay, all right, some kids might not.
Some kids might not get it.
But as a young 7-year-old, I can remember when my mom was mad at my father. Even though she probably came out crying or went straight to the bathroom after an argument, or me even sitting on the steps, waiting for him to pull up with my bike, and then waiting out there for hours, and it got dark, and my mother would be on the phone cursing him out.
There's definitely times where I probably was like, your father's stupid. Like,
Then on top of that, the bike that I was actually waiting on, my mother took me to the store the following day to get the bike out of her own. She paid for it out of her own pocket. So knowing my mother and seeing all these different type of emotions, for her to have to pay for the bike, I knew that my father got an earful at 7. I knew. If he was supposed to do something and he didn't do it, and my mother wound up doing it for me, I knew my mother. I knew that she was giving him the business on the phone. And then she went to do it herself for me. So you might not think that the kid understand or hear you or even knew that you were crying because of the dad, but trust me, they could put 2 and 2 together. And the time might pass and he gets older and then start remembering. I remember when I see my mother bawling, crying, coming out the room. And then he's like, that was my father. Now he's putting it together. So any type of way that you want to try to hide shit like that, you can't. Kids is fucking smart as shit. But, so, now, being that you might have said to your kid, oh, your father's stupid. What type of effect do you think it had on your child? Thinking about his dad.
long term, talking about now? Or when he was smaller?
Then or now?
So, honestly, having conversations with my son, my older son now that he's of age and he's 18, there are certain things that he may look back on or that he has seen as he's grown up. And out of his own mouth, he's told me, Mom, I want to feel bad for you, but I can't. And he says, because it's my fault. Because I allowed certain things to happen. So I do think that certain ways that I handle situations, certain things he may have heard or may have saw or witnessed, nothing ever like physical or anything like that. He now sees like, listen, you were nice. You didn't do anything wrong, but you allowed this to happen to you.
Would you like your son to be emotionally available for you when it comes to his father?
What do you mean by emotionally available for me?
You might feel a certain type of way about this man, and he doesn't share the same, being that he's putting it on you instead of his dad, right? And siding with you. Because we all know that mothers and sons have different relationships than mothers and daughters.
Okay, that's what you mean.
So, being that he's not emotionally there with you when you upset about his dad, do you feel some type of way about that?
No. I don't feel like my son is not emotionally there for me, nor do I feel like that's his job to be there for me emotionally. I think a lot of what he says sometimes, or what he has said in the past, is true. Especially, but it's just mind-boggling that you have to listen to this coming from a child because he's around and he sees this. But for him to be, I don't think he needs to be emotionally there for me. When he makes a statement like that, it's only because, not saying that he's siding with me. He knows my personality and how I am. He knows his father's personality and how he is. He's a mixture of the both of us. But he just says, like, listen, Ma, I don't even know why you feed into that. Just leave it alone.
So he gets the energy. He gets what it's about. And he's like really now focusing because he's old enough to do that.
Yeah, especially the older he got, then he would
so
say
he's
that.
focusing. Because I was going to ask a question. Has there ever been a time when either one, the 18 or the 11-year-old, when they wanted their dad and they weren't around?
No.
That's never been an issue?
Never been an issue.
Okay.
Your son seems like a smart kid to pick up, to ask those type of, or to even respond to you that way. Like, no, that's your fault. That sounds like he's really a smart kid.
Like he would know what to expect if he ever got into a relationship, how to act and react.
Okay. And I would say that's based on your kid lived with you for majority of his life, correct?
All of his life.
Going back to the topic, can women raise boys to be men? He's a young man now, and his perspective on relationships, breakups, and how to co-parent, so to speak, is amazing. And that was all taught under the roof that you were paying for, so to speak. So the topic of tonight is kind of like, would you agree that women can, Juice, would you agree that women can raise boys to be men?
Women can raise boys to be mature, but not to be men.
I agree with what he says.
Okay.
Honestly,
Not to be men. And like you said, they both were in their lives. Both dads in their lives. So that would be that. And even if they didn't have in their lives, uncles and blah, blah, blah. Like, my dad was always working when I was a kid. He was around, but I had my grandfather, tons of uncles, older cousins. Like, to try to teach me doesn't mean I always acted right, but that's just how it was.
And on
That's the way it was.
You want to say something?
no, I was gonna say I agree with him when it comes to a certain extent or a certain point. I can't teach a boy to be a man. I'm not a man. I'm a woman. Just like a man cannot teach a little girl to be a woman or a lady.
Yeah. But let me tell you this. Let me ask this, so to speak. What does it take to raise a man from a woman's standpoint? What do you feel like you need to be able to do for this young boy to become a man? What do you think you're not capable of showing him?
First off, I don't think like a man. From a male's perspective, the way the world operates, I can only pick up on what I've been taught by other men, but I don't think like one.
Let me stop you real quick. When you're a young kid, a teenager, from experience, to teach a boy how to be how to deal with being a teenage boy, it's a fine line with caring and not caring. Teaching him from a mother. This is what my mom's did with me, and I felt like she did it. When you're a young kid as a teenager, your feelings, especially towards or dealing with women, my mom used to tell me like, yo, I'm your only girlfriend right now, so to speak. Meaning I'm the only person that you should be emotionally fucked up about. Right? But in the same sense, if you say that now, it almost seems as if she was telling me to be a fucking dog when it came to women and their feelings as a teenage boy.
That's what you got out of that?
And not necessarily a dog, but check your feelings at the door. These young girls is giving their cooch to any and everybody, right? And don't get all tied up in believing that you own that vagina because she gave it to you. You understand what I'm saying?
Nah, I get that one.
So, my mother used to call a cooch a poo-poo. She give you that poo-poo, take it, and fucking don't be fucked up behind it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, don't be all caught up behind it. Because it's hers. It's hers, and she's going to fucking give it to someone else. Your kids. Everybody's having fucking fun. Don't get tied up in it.
Yo, can I just say something? Can I say something?
If you stop laughing, you could.
Because that reminds me of my aunt, and you know her, she passed away, but you know her damn near as well as I do. And she didn't say she called it the tush. She said, oh, they giving up that tush? But it's another thing. I had my uncle and my dad tell me, oh, they a dime a dozen. Don't get caught up. And what happens? We still end up getting caught up because they've been wrong about everything else. So in them days, like, we didn't believe them until we got older. Right or wrong? We didn't listen to nothing they said until we got older.
I believed my mother after the second one. First of all, my mother told me that light-skinned girl with them freckles was gonna fuck my life up. She told me that. My mother told me that. She said that light-skinned girl with them freckles gonna fuck your life up. And this heifer had me trying to kill everybody.
And we didn't listen to nothing, right?
The second time around that I fell in love, I was very well groomed and coached. You know, but that was, and my mother was single, a single woman raising 3 boys. But my mother also came from a different world too, right? Like back in them days, my mother had to live a certain way and conduct herself a certain way because, you know, of the streets. My pops being who he was, and my mother had to move around a certain way. I'm not getting into my family's business, but my mother was groomed different. So with my father not being around, I was definitely a mama's boy, but it was also like, yo, they hit you, you better hit them back. And then it got to the point to where they hit me, and I was just tearing shit up. And then it was like, but I thought you wanted me to respond like this. But it was like overly like, you responding by trying to burn they family house down. You know what I mean? So it was like, yo, like, but I say that to say this, like, my mother, even when it came to sex, I had older brother. My family's house was like fucking. I grew up with the top tier guys in my neighborhood, and in other people's neighborhood. They lived in my house. My brother, my cousin Charlie Rock, God bless the dead. My cousin Agard, one of my mentors, Dink. They were all in the crib with me, and all of them, all the girls from town to town, and even the town that we lived in, like, if not all those dudes, one of those dudes in the house.
So you take it back to the brat.
So when my mother wasn't around, I had guys to kind of shape and mold me. And even to the day, right now, I tell these guys, I have all of those people in me without even trying. Because my father wasn't around, from my brother to Agard to Charlie Rock to even the cousins that would come and stay for the summer, all of those people are in me. From Keela to Mark to Spank to Diallo, all of these people are in me, and I didn't try to. They just molded. So in the absence of my father, my mother actually had help. She probably didn't realize she had the help. You know what I'm saying? So to the topic tonight, I feel like women can, to a certain degree.
To a certain degree.
But they definitely need help, like male figures around.
I'm gonna go back to what I said before. She didn't teach you how to be a man. She taught you how to mature. And even still, because you said something funny, and I was gonna say something, because I was gonna ask my aunt Cheryl, because you know I lost my mom when I was a kid. So my mom was around. I had my grandmother, aunts, and all that. Mm-hmm. Why y'all ain't tell me that Power U was so powerful? You ain't told me that pool was so powerful though. But you told me to stay away from the tush.
Listen, that Power U so fucking
you know
powerful.
What I'm saying? Like it'll make you want to kill somebody, and or worse.
That Power U so powerful, I try to kill a football team behind it. Shit. And that year, I think they did great in the season. They wouldn't have had a fucking quarterback.
I'm just glad that my son, like you said, when it comes with maturity, he had the balance of both parents, period, in his life. And even when it came to girls, he was in a relationship with a girl, and he realized that, listen, I am only 16, 17 years old, and this is getting too stressful for me. And he straight up told me, he said, Ma, he said, between her and you, one of y'all had to go. So it was her.
Yeah.
Because he was saying, like, as far as being stressed. And he realized that being 16, 17 at the time, he should not be going through this.
And it's crazy because when I was 16, like, I was always in love. Well, whoever I dated,
Nope.
in the beginning, I was in love. Like, I love her.
And I'm pretty sure, and he did
Right.
have love for this girl, but he made a conscious decision that he realized, listen, I'm not going to do the back and forth. I'm not going to do the arguing. I'm not going to do, and a part of the reason for that as well is because he did see it in the relationship with his parents.
Now let me say this.
Like I said, you probably helped mature him, but not becoming
That's what I'm saying. Yes, no, and he needed his dad.
also feel like the reason, for me personally, like the reason I dealt with situations the way I did when I was young, like with all the emotion, like I just told you the story about how I was trying to kill a football team. I think that was based on, like, that emotion come from somewhere, right? I used to see my mother get upset about shit that I'm like, why you that upset about it, right? So I personally think, and I could be wrong, right? I personally think because, like, when my mother didn't understand how I went overboard and did certain, like,
That's because you her son.
no. My mother didn't understand how I went overboard when it came to, like, problems in the street. My mother didn't understand how, like, I would want guns and have guns and she would find guns, right? And then hearing shit about me from people's parents or just people in the street, she didn't understand, like, where this shit came from. But in hindsight, I used to watch her get overly emotional about the smallest shit. Now, as an adult, how the fuck you don't know where that shit was coming from? It's coming from you. It's coming from you.
You had said that earlier.
So
You
that's-
said, yo, you part of me and part of him. When you were talking about earlier.
So that's what I'm
Like he,
saying.
like he realized it. So you realized it too.
As an adult, I realize it, yes. But as a kid, no. She used to always try to blame that shit on my pops. Like, you get that gangster shit from your daddy. But on top of that, I also, because she was at work all the time, my cousin Charlie Rock was, I can't even put in words. I can't even put in words what he was. I'm not even gonna try to. Listen, whatever the fuck you think a gangster is, he was that times 10.
Oh,
In Brooklyn, wherever he went, he just carried himself like that and people knew. So I had him in the house with me. I had Kenneth, I had all these, I had all these aggressive men. So they definitely contributed to the aggressive young me. But like how something could trigger me and I could go overboard, that definitely came from my mother.
That sounds familiar. Because my son will look at me like, Ma, it's really not that serious. Like, it could be like something, I can come home and the garbage will still be in the house. And I'm like, I'll blow up. And he's like, Ma, okay, so I'll take it out now. And I'm like, no, but then I gotta drag it for the next 20 minutes because it's like, I don't want to come home and see the garbage because it just set me off for no reason.
So,
and that's what, because people still don't realize you could be brought up by one part of the family, but you still come from two sides. And usually that one part of the family knew the two sides. You may not know them, but they know the two sides. And they'll be like, oh, that's why you acting like them. You acting like them. You acting like them. So, it happens. I've seen it a million times over. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, even with my younger son, for instance, there's certain things that, and this is why it is important, and I feel it's important, and I know for a fact that I cannot, for me, I can only raise my son but for so far to be mature, but to be a man, no. There's certain things that my younger son will do with me that he won't do with his father. He'll tell me I love you all day long. He could be in the shower. He could be on the toilet. He could be outside. I love you, mommy. I love you, mommy. I love you, mommy. I love you, mommy. He doesn't tell his father that at all. He never tells his father that. If his father comes to pick him up and I'm like, okay, I love you, he'll be like, okay, mommy, see you later. He won't say it in front of his father. He will not say it in front of, because when he's with his dad, he gotta be
like them.
He gotta be a man. I remember one time his goldfish.
the emotional part of it, right? Like, because I say I love you, mommy, that makes me a punk. Like, wait. But you know, like, as far as like black men are concerned, right? Showing any sort of like emotion that is not expected of us because we're big and strong and we're supposed to be hard all the time, right? Like, if I was to start crying in front of people,
They think you weak.
it's a certain group that will look at me, and that'll sort of diminish my power, so to speak, what they believe me to be. So at 6'4", 240 pounds, I start crying in front of these group of people. I'm 5'5" and 120 pounds now, and can't fight and run from shit. I'm telling you.
Why you gotta say can't fight though?
Because you gotta put all of it stripped.
Mike Tyson was the biggest crier in the world.
Listen, bro. Listen. Again. Let's be honest. It's only one of
I cried in front of you. You cried in front of me, right?
I never cried in front of you.
You teared up.
I never teared up.
You choked up.
All right, listen. It's only one Mike Tyson. You understand what I'm telling you? It's been times growing up where I cry and nobody see it. I walk away. You can't, because crying for black men or young boys is just, even think about it. Like, as a kid, a kid get hurt, say he fall off his bike or jam his foot or sprain whatever, he gonna hop around on that bitch, he gonna blow on it, he gonna do everything possible not for you to see the true emotions of this shit hurting.
Because of what your parents or your grandparents said. Stop that goddamn crying. All you did was scrape your knee. And then you know when you got to get the iodine or the alcohol in your knee, you're going to cry even more because you know it hurts.
That being said,
Yo, this is like, this should be a part two.
no, listen, it will be. This is a great topic,
Part two.
and I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of blowback on this because we're all agreeing that women can't raise boys
I got one more
to
question.
be men.
How are the two boys? How are they as siblings? Does the 18-year-old look out for them and check for them and, you know?
Absolutely, they love each other to death, but they are normal brothers. They're 7 years apart, and it's like, and then it's so weird though with those two because let's say if the older one doesn't think I'm getting after the younger one enough, then
he
it's
gonna
like,
check
oh, your favorite, that's your favorite. You let him get away with anything. How come he can't wash the dishes? And I'm like, cause he's 10. You know what I mean? And I told you to do it. But then God forbid I get on the younger one and the older one hands me, Ma, why are you doing that to him? Leave him alone. Like, are you serious? So it's like they both love to hate each other at the same time, but they never hate each other. They do really get along good and they do love each other.
I mean, I went through that too because my younger brother we're about 5.5, close to 6 years apart. And I'm like, yo, why did I have to always do this? He don't got to do nothing. You know? Until he got older.
Me and my older brother used to fight like cats and dogs. Shit, I learned how to fucking fix a hole in the wall because I was fighting my brother all the time. He was punching me through the wall. So if you want a hole fix, sheetrock and plaster, call me. I could do it. I've been knowing how to do it since I was fucking 10. Right? So like, yo, it's just like that. Even but you know the thing is too, between all my brothers, it's like a 7-8 year gap. So you know what I mean? My older brother is 50. My younger brother is 30. No, 34.
Is he that young?
34. He's like 34. So it's like an 8 year gap in between us or whatever. I lived with my mother the whole entire time. My younger brother lived with his dad, and my older brother, he went on tour as a roadie for big acts, rap acts. He was touring the world straight out of high school. So he was gone. And then him and my moms would have beef, and he went to live with my aunt. So it was just me and my moms in the house forever. So I was probably looked at as the favorite, the baby. You know what I'm saying? My older brother came back, and our house was the fucking fun house, but yeah.
I'm listening to you say that, and I'm even with my kids. So fairly recently, I feel like the dynamic of my household it has changed.
Why?
Because my 18-year-old, since he's 18 and there's a 7-year gap between the two boys, has decided to move.
Where? By himself?
No, he moved out and he moved in with his father. So now the first 18 years of his life, he's lived with me, with the balance of having both parents, because his father has been his life all these years. But now he's 18 and we've outgrown our space, and his father has a bigger space. So his father invited him to come live with him, and he accepted. And at first, before he accepted, and his father first told him if he wanted to come, and my son's telling me like, oh, daddy said that I want to come live with him, and he said the conversation he had with his father was, I can't do that to my mom. She would not know what to do without me. And I said, oh, really? And I let him know, listen, you have to do what you feel is best for you. I didn't want to be that mom to say, oh, no, you can't leave, you can't go. You're moving with your father. You're not moving with a friend. If you were doing anything else, then I can understand it. But you're going to live with your dad, who's always been in your life. I didn't want to be that person to restrain him from doing something like that. Then later on in life, it would be said like, oh, my mom wouldn't let me do this because you needed me to stay home or anything like that.
But that's what I was gonna ask. Like, what would make him do that? Like, was there a restriction? And he was like, oh, I'm out, or
A restriction for?
Just like living in your household. Did you restrict him anything? He was like, oh no, I'm out.
He didn't want to leave because he couldn't just take me anymore or anything like that. His main reason was he needed his own room. He wanted his own space. And part of the reason is he is 18 and he is growing. He needs space.
He wanted his own room. He wanted to jerk his dick in private.
Or invite a ski.
The things that a mom that doesn't want to hear. So
that's reality.
He moved out literally a couple weeks ago. And honestly, at this stage in the game, I felt that it was best. I did not resist that. I said, that's a decision you have to make. If you're comfortable with it and that's what you want to do, go ahead. His father did call me after he told his father that he was going to accept and the offer and moving with him to see if I was okay with that. And I was like, listen, everybody needs to do what's best for them. He's at an age right now that he needed to do what was best for him. He is 18. He is going into adulthood. There are certain things past this point that I can't show him or explain to him like this. But now his father's there. Not that I'm not there. It's just that the roles have reversed. And now I'll just have the younger one home at the house with me. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I felt it was best, especially at this point, because at the beginning of the show, you asked me, did I notice that there was a change with my son? And I said there was. And I felt like we were starting to bump heads because he felt that he was grown. He felt that he could do what he wanted to do. I didn't like waking up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and looking at my phone and seeing a location like, why are you guys sitting in a Walmart parking lot doing nothing?
Because
we understand why. You've made that very aware. Things that moms don't want to think about. I felt like, you know what, if it came at the right time, because if it would have kept going like that, and I'm like, okay, listen, I don't care, you need to be in at this time, you need to do this, and it wasn't happening, it was going to get worse.
Because you're stressing your own self out.
And that's what he would say, I don't know what you're stressing out for, I'm on my way home, and that goes back to what you were saying, you would see your mother blow up over little things, where you look at it and say, this is something small and simple, why are you blowing up over it? And as a mom, we're like, no, it's not something small and simple. It's because it's what I said.
We all agree with women not being able to raise boys to be men. Do we all agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. They need a little help from men or man.
Some type of way.
A male figure, yes.
Well, like I said, but a female can teach them how to mature.
So we're going to wrap this up, and we all agree that women need help to raise boys to be men. They can't do it alone. Right? Do y'all agree?
Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, we're gonna close out the show. I thank everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share this shit. All of it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel, which is WTW_NYC. Hit the subscribe button. Stop asking me to fucking send links. You can go and subscribe. Every time I post something, you'll get a notification. And hit the bell. I'm trying to be large and in charge. So with that being said, we're gonna close out the show. With we rolling, bitches.